I'm Peter Kenworthy.
And I'm Colin Sullivan, and this is Almost Live, a weekly show designed to give you the who's who and what's what of Telluride and Mountain Village. On our season finale, we have some special guests for you. I'm going to be sitting down with Susan Keyes, who wrote the first ever Telluride hiking guide, and then Peter is going to be joined by Dr. Alan Safdi, a health and wellness expert, to tell you how to make your life a little bit more healthy.
We'll have an episode of Wine Geek Food Freak with Chef Patrick Legans and an episode of Yoga with Barbara. Then we're going to have a brand new Miner's Minute from the Telluride Historical Museum.
We have some local promos for you. We're going to head up to the Via Ferrata with the Telluride Mountain Club, and then we're going to hear from the Telluride AIDS Benefit. Then we're going to see a retro ride from local director Scott Upshur. It's called Locals Bite and something spooky for Halloween.
Zoe Donnell will bring us a new episode of Free Enterprise, where our local businesses come into the Telluride TV studio for free and leave with a prize. And we'll have a brand new segment created by our own Telluride High School intern, Gemma Andrew, called Report Card. But for now, let's join Patrick Legans, the Wine Geek Food Freak, and learn how to make a delicious mushroom risotto.
Hi, I'm Patrick Legans, the Wine Geek Food Freak. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to learn a very traditional risotto, a mushroom risotto. It's going to be a lot of fun techniques that you get to learn, especially how to treat arborio rice. I'm going to start off with some butter, and then I have some yellow onion. I like to do onions and mushrooms usually on like a medium temperature because you want to sweat them out. You want them to turn into like window panes for the onions, and then on the mushrooms, you want to, over time, they'll leach out their interior juices. That's one of the reasons why you don't want to add them until a little later. If you were to add them now at the beginning process, you would wind up putting too much water liquid, and you would stop the butter from being blonde properly. So the butter is starting to, it's not quite blonde, but it's getting there, and so I want to extend that life. This is the point where I'll add a little extra virgin olive oil, just give it a little extra life. So we're using arborio rice. That's from the town of Arborio in the Po Valley in Italy. It is a high starch rice. I'm going to break open these husks right now by toasting them a little bit before I add our mushrooms. This is a very active process, this risotto. It's not something you put all the stock in and then you just wait and reduce. You want to just continually add warm stock, constantly, just to cover the top of the risotto, of the rice, because you want this high starch rice, the kernels themselves, to rub against each other. It breaks off more starch. This will have no more butter than what I put into it in the beginning, barely any. And watch how creamy this is going to be. And it's because of the process that we do, so it's super important. I'm going to add some mushrooms right now. I have oysters and baby boletes. Stir this in there. I'm going to add that salt just so I can start breaking them down a little bit. The other thing is, I'm also, by stirring this and not, toasting it this way, not only am I cracking the exterior of the risotto, I'm also, by stirring it so much, I'm really agitating them against each other. Again, just releasing more starch. All right, I'm to a point where I think I can add my stock. I'm just going to add it to where it's just above the top of the risotto, okay? And then I'm going to constantly add it and stir it as I go. The more I stir it, the more creamy it will get. What we're going to go for here is we want it just talking to you, which just means a bubble every few seconds. Bloop. It's been about 15 minutes since you last saw this, and I've been adding that hot stock. I'm going to add that Parmesan cheese right now. We're going to save a little bit for the end. So you want to be pretty aggressive at this point in time. This is going to thicken this up really quick, and if you're not really active, it could stick to the bottom of the pan. And then once that flavor's in there, you're not going to get it out. And you can see how creamy does this look with no additional butter. One tiny pat of butter at the very beginning. This is a fair amount of risotto, and that's just because we've treated the starch on the arborio rice properly. It's so creamy, it's just amazing that it doesn't have any additional butter in there. I'm going to place that right there. I'm going to put a little Parmesan cheese over the top. I'm going to take a little bit of that flat leaf parsley, just sprinkle for some color. And that, my friends, is world-class mushroom risotto. I want to thank our sponsor, Sidework Restaurant. And remember, good ingredients, a few minutes of your time, and some care, and you can eat like me, the wine geek, food freak.
Hello and welcome to this mini yoga series in beautiful Telluride, Colorado. My name is Barbara Glansnick, and today I want to show you a very easy and calming breathing exercise that you could do really at any time of the day if you feel like your monkey mind is not quieting down at all. This mini yoga series really provides you with a bunch of easy stretches that you can do at any time, especially when you're running out of time to run to a yoga class. As always, I want to focus on the breath, so we're going to breathe through the nose only. And also, I really want you to move with care, so honor where you are today. Okay, so let's get cracking. Lie down on your backs, either on the mat or on the floor if the floor isn't too cold. Then I want you to bend the knees, bring the heels wider than your hips, toes turned in, so you can already feel the inward rotation of the thighs. You don't have to bring your knees together, so they don't have to touch, but maybe in the direction. Then I want you to flip the palms to the ceiling and tuck your shoulder blades under, so you can feel the heart space opening. Tuck your chin. Some people may have to put a blanket underneath there, so you don't feel like your head or your chin is sort of going backwards. We want to have a tucked chin, and so there's space in the back of the neck so that we can breathe freely. Then, gently, gently, gently allow the exhalation to come to empty. Then with your inhalation, draw the breath all the way up into the heart space, really expanding the space around your collarbones. And then again, exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. When you're ready, you're going to roll to your right side and slowly, slowly, slowly come up to a seat. This is a very simple breathing exercise that you could do anytime. If your head position is correct, you can actually watch as your heart raises with your inhalation. I recommend doing this between 5 and 10 minutes every day. It increases your lung capacity rapidly, and it also really quiets the mind. One of the most important things is to keep the inward rotation of the thighs and to gaze towards the nose tip. Thank you so very much for practicing with me today. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.
And we're back with my final guest of the season, Miss Susan Keys. Susan, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in. Now, Susan, you did something that is pretty extraordinary. Nobody can take your crown on this one. You've written the very first Telluride hiking guide.
Yes, I did.
That wasn't just in the brain of some miner somewhere or
No.
something like that.
I got lost everywhere when I first moved here and started hiking, so I made notes. And then I interviewed miners who had lived here their whole lives, and most of them had walked all of those trails. Nobody called it a hike, it was just going to work. And
Yeah.
I found that fascinating, so I continue to write short biographies of people that lived here, miners, and connected those with the trails that I love to hike.
And you did this. I'm gonna take a step back for a second and say, when did you do this? We're not talking about the 90s. We're talking about 70s.
Yeah, the 70s.
Yeah.
Well, I came here in 72, and I got lost everywhere. And I made notes about it to...
Were you the only person doing that at that time?
The only person I knew. I don't
Okay.
know. You know, at that time, there were occasional people who would accompany me on some hikes, but in general, I was hiking by myself with a baby.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
So technically, this is your eldest or your
My youngest.
Your youngest,
Yeah.
yeah. So your youngest is actually kind of sort of co-wrote the book with you.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And then so explain to me exactly how. Are you just wandering around and then you go you find the miners in the town at the bar or whatever it is and you go what about this thing? Where was I? That kind of thing. Or do you ask them beforehand? You say I want to go up that way.
No, I asked them. Actually, it didn't even relate to hiking specifically. It was their biographies that I was interested in. But it did turn out that they had walked to work or ridden a mule, and I was fascinated by it because the women were hiking in things like that look like high heel shoes to me,
There you go.
and I couldn't believe it. I'm all dressed in my hiking boots and water and ready to go, and there they are in dresses and high heels walking around.
They
So,
would probably be pretty horrified at the fact that we do the Imogen Pass run now.
maybe.
They were just trying to get to work.
Yeah.
So you we had talked beforehand, and I asked you, how many of the trails did you name, and you said you didn't really name very many of them.
I took most of the names from the maps, and I tried not to personalize them. There are a couple of trails that some people wanted their personal names on, and I didn't. I mentioned those, but I didn't call the trail that name.
Yeah. So with that sort of said, I want to say one of my favorite trails is Owl Creek.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Owl Gulch.
Owl Gulch. Sorry. I see. This is why I mentioned that because the trail is called 4 or 5 different things. It's an offshoot of the Judweeby.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And you're calling it Owl Gulch because that's Owl Gulch.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
it's been called what?
Well, it has been called John's. John is the first, John McCarran, another psychotherapist in town, and Jane Wattenpaw walked that trail multiple times with shovels and so forth, trying to make it a little easier to walk. And then others have come along and called it Clay's Way, or and like I said, there's a couple different names: Clay's Way and John's and Owl Gulch. And I felt that Owl Gulch was, the geographic name, and that's what I had to put.
I'm
So-
almost there. Owl Creek is what I call it, but I like.
Yeah.
I tell people Owl Gulch, and people go, "You mean locals?"
Yeah,
which
locals.
is now a thing
Yeah,
that they call
now-
it, the locals
right,
weebie or whatever.
yeah,
Right? That's a
yeah.
new one.
And that's a new name for me.
Yeah.
For the next edition, I should put that in.
Have you done? You must have had to do multiple editions.
I
right?
have,
Yeah.
yes. The first edition was done pretty quickly, and I didn't have any help with that first edition. And once I saw it published, I was horrified because there would be thes left out or not a capital at the beginning of a sentence and so forth, things that I thought the publisher would take care of but didn't. And so I quickly wrote the second edition, and that was basically to clean up some of the obvious grammatical or spelling errors that nobody else cared about. And then I wrote the third edition because so many of the trails had changed, and also my husband learned how to use a GPS, and we were putting GPS points in the third edition. And I had to do hikes 6 or 7 times to make sure we had the right GPS, or that I had written it properly, or things like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Are you? Is there a favorite hike that you have? I guess it's hard.
I can
it's
tell
hard.
you this: the hike that I'm on is my favorite hike.
Oh,
Whenever
look
I'm
at
on
that.
it, yeah. So, but if I were to recommend to people big hikes, I would say the Sheridan Crosscut and
Did you do Via Ferrata?
No, I've never done.
Was that an actual? Was that a thing that is a hike for you?
I don't put it. I haven't got it in the hiking guide, and I'm afraid of heights. I
Okay.
hate that kind of thing, and I've done things like that with my husband, who has always been very, very careful with me, and had me roped where nobody else was on a hike. But the Via Ferrata is out of my comfort zone.
Gotcha.
So-
Yeah, it's not even, don't even go. It's
Yeah.
not in the book.
Well, go if you want, but make sure you know what you're doing.
And what do you think? The Telluride Mountain Club came earlier this year, and they talked about they finally blazed a new trail from the bottom of Black Bear, from the bottom of the road.
Oh, they're
there.
working on that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
working on that. What do you think about that?
Well, my husband has for years been trying to get the county to do a trail along the creek up there.
yeah.
And I think it's great, but what I've seen on the road as a connection is not the trail that I or my husband had in mind, and that would be to continue on up along the creek. But I'm happy it's there.
Yeah.
New trails are always a blessing.
Well, it'll be nice too as the traffic has increased from the
exactly,
four-wheel drive vehicles
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the traffic this summer.
Well, it's cool here.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of places. Is it cool in the summer?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're lucky.
So, so Susan, I'm gonna leave the viewer. I just want to say with one last thing, which is, if you were to, Telluride has changed a lot in the years that you've lived here.
Yes.
40, 50 years, something like
Yeah,
that, right?
close to that.
Yeah. So, what is the thing that hasn't changed about Telluride that for you is like,
The mountains,
yeah,
the people that I have befriended over the years. It's a spiritual place, and that hasn't changed for me.
great. Great. It's October now, folks. You got to get up into the mountains. Go pick up the Telluride hiking guide. Don't buy it on Amazon. We have a local store. If you're somewhere other than Telluride, then fly to Telluride, buy it at the local store, and then go
Yeah.
hiking.
Absolutely.
You'll see Susan. She's still living in town, in and around. So
Yeah.
just ask her which way to go if you get lost.
Yeah. And don't ever worry about it. If you only can do part of a trail, that's better than none. You know, and age is not a factor. I'm 78 and a half, and I expect to keep hiking.
Look out for the next edition of that
Yeah,
book, everybody.
yeah.
Thanks a lot, Susan, for
You bet.
being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's head over. Speaking of hiking, the Telluride Mountain Club is going to take Tim and Peter up to the Via Ferrata. Not in the book, but they're going to hang right off the side of that thing, and you're going to get to watch them there. And then we're going to have a new Miner's Minute, followed by Peter sitting down with Dr. Alan Safdi to talk about some health tips.
Hi, I'm Heidi,
And I'm Todd.
and this
Is Telluride Trails.
Today we're going to go up on the Via Ferrata. Telluride's Via Ferrata traverses approximately 1.5 miles, and Via Ferrata is Italian for Iron Way.
If you drive and start at the beginning of the route, the entire route will take about 2.5 to 3 hours to traverse. At minimum, it's important that everybody wear a helmet. There's a significant rockfall hazard. Helmet will help mitigate that risk. It's important to have a harness and a load limiting lanyard, something that will disperse the force of a fall onto the cables. Perhaps the most important piece of equipment to have in the Via Ferrata is the right choice of footwear. You want to have good traction because the edge of the cliff band could well be a foot or two off to your side.
We recommend traversing the route from east to west, and when you do it in that manner, you'll start out on a pretty good trail, and you'll walk along for a while, and then you'll reach the first cables on the route, and that's where it's really important to have the right gear. And as you keep traversing from east to west, you start to encounter iron rungs, and it gets a little bit more intricate.
What we're doing now is we're overriding the amygdala. It's that little most ancient part of our reptilian brain that's in charge of fight or flight. And it's freaking out. It's saying, what? So one of the things the amygdala wants us to do is to like grab onto the earth and lean away from scary things. When we lean away from the edge here, we can cause our feet to slide out. So we're always best to stand upright. That's what a hand to the right can kind of keep you upright, keep your weight over your feet, improve your traction.
About 1/2 mile into the route, you encounter the main event, which is really cool. It's a little bit scary, but awesome.
And the main event is about 100 feet long. It's a traverse. As soon as you turn the corner and step out to the first rung, you have about 300 feet of air under your heels. It's super exciting. It's a wild, unnatural place for humans to be. And thanks to the Via Ferrata, we can get up there and have our minds blown.
That's so cool. Yeah, it definitely takes your breath away.
At the end of the route, we descend a 3/4 mile trail that comes down along the Marshall Creek drainage. Now, it's really important to stay on the trail because the land surrounding it is all privately owned.
Todd, thank you so much for taking us on the Via Ferrata. It was an incredible experience, a really unique thing.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come join us, and thanks for all you and the Telluride Mountain Club does for trail sustainability throughout the Telluride region.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Heidi.
And I'm Todd.
And we'll
See you on the trails.
Hey, this is Teresa from the Telluride Historical Museum with your Miner's Minute. The Ute, or Nuchu people, are Colorado's longest continuous residents and have lived here for hundreds of years. It is important to acknowledge that the land on which the town of Telluride and San Miguel County are located is actually the seized territory of the Ute people. The forced removal of Native Americans from their ancestral lands is one of our country's most difficult histories. And museums should shed light on tough topics, and we are proud to work with local tribal members to create this exhibit, which investigates the living history of the Utes. But there is much more work to be done. For example, in 1998, San Miguel County stopped celebrating Columbus Day and changed the holiday to Indigenous Peoples Day as a step toward reconciliation with local tribes. Come learn more by visiting the museum this fall, Mondays through Fridays, 11 to 5 p.m., Thursdays until 7, and Sundays from 1 to 5. And we will close for the off-season on October 14th. Thanks, Telluride TV.
Thank you, Teresa and the Historical Museum, and thank you to the Mountain Club for that Via Ferrata piece. I'm here with Dr. Alan Safdi. Alan, thank you very much for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about gastroenterology, and we're going to talk about your work in health and wellness. But I'm first going to ask you a question that we like to ask a lot of our guests, which is, what's your Telluride story? How did you come to find yourself here in Telluride?
That's an interesting story. 30-something years ago, I've been married for 41 years, and we went everywhere to ski. One year my wife heard from somebody, let's try Telluride. And the mountain village essentially didn't exist then. It was maybe 32 years ago. And we came here. We've never skied anywhere since. So we came for the winter. Now we love the summer, even more so than the winter. We bought a place up in Mountain Village, and there was only a few buildings here, no gondola, no hotels, and you know, we love it. We love this small town atmosphere.
Came for the skiing, stayed for the summers, the falls, the springs.
Yeah. And as the older I get, the summer is more attractive to me than the winter time, although I love them all.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mention this issue of aging, because I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But first of all, for those of us who aren't in the know, particularly about what gastroenterology even is, I know it has to do with the digestive system, with disorders and health of the digestive system. So I guess that's everything from where you put the food in to where the food comes out and everything in between, right?
It's almost all parts of your body. Even the heart we're interested in, because that can affect the gastrointestinal tract, or the gastrointestinal tract can affect your heart. So we deal with the esophagus, oropharyngeal area, stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, spleen. So everything below the diaphragm, all those organs, but also, you know, I trained in nutrition.
Right.
So
and they go together.
They go absolutely together. Unfortunately, gastroenterologists have gotten more attuned to just doing colonoscopies and not sitting down and talking to people about what are you consuming, how much are you exercising, what can we do to prevent disease, not just treat disease.
Because it's those organs that are processing and extracting all the nutrients and giving you your energy.
Right, and we have a significant increase. I can look at your liver function test, but now we have a significant increase in fatty livers and abnormal liver function tests, secondary to foods we eat, and not in Telluride, but other parts of the country, increasing weights that we're noticing. We have ultra-processed food. So we're not only interested in diagnosing and treating pre-existing disorders, but at least in my focus has been, how do we prevent disorders, including not just gastrointestinal tract disorders, including dementia, including heart disease. So including every part of your body, even looking at osteoporosis and decreased bone density and osteopenia, not enough bone density.
So we actually put together a little series of talks by Dr. Allen and his sidekick, Dr. Bill, on dementia, on preventative measures that can serve to help reduce the risk or reduce the incidence of dementia. And we're going to show one of those after this interview, but for now I want to talk about some of the things that you've talked about with us here and on that series about health and wellness as it has to do with nutrition. I have a friend, a man who lived well into his 90s, who said that the keys to a healthy long life for him were blueberries and compromise. And I thought it was classic, and I wonder how much you subscribe to that theory.
Blueberries is one of probably the best fruits that one could consume, absolutely. It doesn't have to be a blueberry. It could be a blackberry, it could be a plum, anything with these anthocyanins in it. And those decrease. We have a study that giving a placebo of blueberries versus true blueberries. We have to make it into a powder because you can't have a blueberry placebo. You'd be like chewing a marble. You would know what you're eating. So we have to have it in a powder and put it in a pill. But even after 16 weeks of the blueberries, the cognitive function improved in humans, not just our rats or mice, but in humans. So this individual is absolutely correct. And compromise, decreasing stress levels, not worrying about everything you see in the news. That's one of the benefits of being here. I don't hear the news all day because my commute is walking or biking. When I drive to a hospital, my commute is listening to Sirius Radio and I'm listening to the news channel. So
I think a lot of people discount this whole holistic approach because they think it's so much mumbo jumbo, mysticism, but it seems to me that the mind and the body are just inextricably bound, that they affect one another.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the populations that live the longest in the world, they predominantly plant-based diet, not solely, but some of them are solely, like the Seventh-day Adventist, solely plant-based diets. They exercise, not necessarily in a gym, but as you do in Telluride, you exercise by walking from a gondola to a gondola. Your whole life is consistent with regular activity. But the social interactions are extremely important in all those populations. The older people are revered, not discounted, so which to me is really important right now. The older I get, I mean, they look to people that have wisdom and they're incorporated into the family structures and they don't have a lot of stress. Some of them do yoga, some of them do other things, but they decrease stress levels by the compromise. And interestingly, 2 out of 3 of the larger populations have empowered women, which I think is extremely important. And listening to, having all portions of the population being listened to.
I remember listening to a speaker at one of the mountain film festivals who was talking about the blue zones, these places where people tend to have the best longevity. And there was a particular community in the Mediterranean, I can't remember if it was Italy or Greece or somewhere, but there were certain component parts of their diet like oregano and sardines and olive oil that seemed to be important. But one of the most important factors was that they all came together as a community regularly, like every day. And they came to a taverna or whatever it was, and they drank red wine together, and they had a really, really good festive time on a very regular basis. And that was just part of their lifestyle.
Fun and decreasing anxiety.
And intergenerational.
Yes, bringing everybody together. Even when we get out and do forest bathing and we're taking a walk here, our cortisols go down, our blood pressure goes down. Our blood pressure goes down with exercise, bringing people together to decrease stress. Often that's very important, and we discount that completely. And unfortunately in medicine, we don't have time to look at every aspect of somebody's life that we really should be looking at. We get paid when you get sick. I don't get paid when you're healthy, which is the exact opposite to what it should be.
Well, before we go to this clip of yours on dementia, I'd like you to, if you would, talk to us a little bit, just as an oversight, about how diet, nutrition, exercise can serve to eliminate the incidence of dementia.
There's lots of things we can do. Let's just look at exercise initially. Those in the top quartile of fitness in their 50s may have, depending on the study, 25 to 50% decrease of dementia in their lifetime. Those that take in good healthy nutrients, the anthocyanins in the blueberries or the blackberries or the strawberries or the plums, may have a decrease in regards to dementia in those groups. So those are extremely important. We know, at least in animal studies, that if we incorporate cinnamon into the diet, it actually helps neuroplasticity, the ability for cells to talk to each other, and that's what we run. It's so cool, all these different things. Turmeric, as long as you get one that's not watered down with lead, so that they, and there are some problem with some of the Bangladesh ones right now, you know, may benefit. You know, Agarwal and Gregory Cole are doing things in regards to dementia and cancer prevention with spices like that. So it's extremely important to exercise. You release brain-derived neurotrophic factor that make your cells talk to each other better. We can grow new cells. We always thought, I'm the smartest I'm going to be, you know, when I'm a kid, and every year I'm going to lose cells. But as neurons, cells in my brain, the hippocampus and memory areas can actually increase in cells. So we have rats.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, it works. I mean, we have rats that, you know, you can teach to do weightlifting. Hard to get them to balance a barbell on their hands, but actually you tie weights to them and they go up an incline. Or interval rats that go very fast on a treadmill, are ones that exercise continuously for long periods of time. All the rats develop new cells in their hippocampus and the memory portions of the brain. The ones that exercise continuously for longer periods had new cells teeming in the hippocampus or the memory portions.
You know, as you're talking, I'm remembering something that always strikes me as a little odd, and that's that when I was young, there was the common wisdom was that certain foods really had very little nutritional value, including mushrooms, including watermelon, and including celery. Those are the ones that I remember, which now seem to be on the other end of the spectrum as some of the most important things you can eat.
Well, it depends on what nutrients we know we can't take nutrients out of a carrot and make you healthier. And that was one of the first studies I was ever involved in, and unfortunately probably hurt people rather than helping. We said, okay, beta-carotene, we'll put it in a vitamin, and we'll decrease the incidence of cancer. No, we increase the incidence, and the cancer cells need nutrients too. So extra nutrients in regards to vitamins, you know, there's certain vitamins we may need, such as vitamin D, but judged by your family doctor. But a lot of these megadose vitamins are very harmful. And then we discounted mushrooms. Mushrooms may be extremely good for cognition. You know, not just any mushroom actually is, not just lion's mane or cordyceps, but it's basically every mushroom we look at. Some are better than others, but every single mushroom may be better for the brain. Certain products like celery may have nitrates in it that convert to nitrites, which convert to nitrous oxide that lower your blood pressure. Just because it didn't have calories and we couldn't find a specific vitamin. We always look for a vitamin. And if there's no vitamin, forget it. But there's thousands of phytochemicals, beneficial chemicals that we totally ignored in everything.
It's fascinating.
And it is fascinating. I mean, every day I learn so much. And I'm really passionate about it.
And you can learn more because of your diet and your exercise.
Well, there isn't probably a day out of the year that goes by, unless I'm stuck on an airplane somewhere to go lecture, that I don't try to exercise.
So tell me this, Alan, is there something coming up in the way of integrative wellness or health and wellness, another symposium, because you've been involved in a few here in Telluride. Is there something on the horizon that we could give people the heads up about?
I would love to do some more free ones for the community. Cool. We just had one at the library last week and last Wednesday night, and we packed the room without even advertising. Just people that have come before when we did the integrative wellness ones with Deepak Chopra and other people that were here in town. And I'd like to give back to the community and do those on a regular basis. Sit down and discuss topical things that came out in the news and why they may be wrong. I mean, we've done lots of studies to show. There was 101 studies many years ago we looked at, and look at them a decade later. Only 5 of those studies really meant anything. We were wrong 96 out of 101 times. So we're wrong a lot. Why do I write a free newsletter that anybody can get if they contact you? I mean, it's free. We don't accept advertising or anything else. It's just something I do as out of interest. It's because often I have to change my thoughts in regards to, you know, just as we did before, mushrooms are worthless. No, mushrooms are beneficial. Celery.
Facts are facts until they're not. Well, I love that about The Evidence Is In, this little series that I was talking about before, because as you say at the outset of that, you know, this isn't for any personal gain. It's not for you to help you in any way financially or with publicity. It's just to give the facts. As the evidence comes in, to let people know what that evidence is. Listen, we're gonna have to go now.
Okay.
But we will show the clip so that people can get a sense more of what you're talking about. And I want to thank you very, very much.
We
for
will
coming
have
in.
3-day seminars next year at times. So it depends on Telski if
Good.
they'll give
Well,
us a room.
We'll get the word out.
And I love doing this,
Yeah,
so I'm
cool.
happy to do or volunteer as much as possible. I volunteer
Excellent.
all over the world, but it's much nicer to volunteer where
indeed.
I have a house.
Alan, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for
Really
having me.
appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So one of the things I love about this community is that we have people like Dr. Alan Safdi as our neighbors, these experts next door that we don't even necessarily know about. They keep a very low profile, but they're renowned in their fields. It's very cool. Speaking of community, I want to give a shout out to some of the biggest supporters of Telluride TV, which is a local public access channel that depends on community involvement and support. So thanks to the towns of Mountain Village and the town of Telluride through Case and the Telluride Ski and Golf Company. Now we're going to see an episode of The Evidence is In with Dr. Alan Safdi, and then we're going to see Free Enterprise with Zoe Donnell. Then we're going to have a profile of the Telluride AIDS benefit, and then our very own Telluride High School intern, Gemma Andrew, is going to showcase the first episode of her new segment called The Report Card. And before I go, I want to give a big shout out also to Original Thinkers Festival, which is happening this weekend and is packed with absolutely wonderful programming. So if you can attend, don't miss it.
Hi, this is Dr. Bill. The evidence is in. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about health, wellness, and longevity. Dr. Alan here is Dr. Alan Safdi. He's a world's expert on nutrition and gastroenterology. This talk is to just set the record straight. We don't have any products to sell. We want to just let people know what's available and what's important and what's the evidence. Alan, tell us about dementia. Dementia scares me more than anything, any other disease. The fact of losing our memory, losing our past. How many types of dementia are there?
Well, what do you think of when you hear dementia?
I think of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. And that's what most people think of. You know, they think dementia is Alzheimer's disease. And that is one type of dementia. But there's over 100 different types of dementia. Dementia can involve lots and lots of things. It can involve
like what?
Your nutrition. You
Your
could be diet, B12 deficient, you know, certain things we get that we'll discuss in diet in the future help our brain process things. Exercise.
So exercise helps with
helps
dementia?
prevent that.
And you're
Vascular
saying we
disease.
can prevent dementia or help
No,
to prevent?
I am not saying you can prevent it. I say we can decrease the incidence of dementia by certain aspects of our life that we can improve upon. I'm pretty puritanical in regards to my life. You know, I don't try to take in extra sugars. I try to work out on a regular basis.
So we can reduce our risk of dementia.
We can reduce our risk of dementia. And it's not
Just
just
with our daily life.
It's not just Alzheimer's disease. So what about vascular dementia? So multiple heart attacks, multiple strokes, type 2 diabetes, nutritional defects, all of those things, you know, Parkinson's disease is associated with dementia. So there's a lot of things that we can have in our life that are modifiable, but never 100%. You know, there's no disease I know that I can say I can prevent 100% of the time. We can decrease the incidence in the future. So this is a good preliminary understanding for people that there's multiple types of dementia, and the dementia affects parts of our brain. And the scary part, and it doesn't, you know, with multiple strokes, it's different, but, you know, if we look at Alzheimer's disease, that memory portion of your brain, and you're a radiologist, and you know if you look at that hippocampus, the memory portion just shrinks. You can barely see it on an MRI.
Right, yeah.
It's
becomes
just not
visible.
there.
The brain actually shrinks, and you can see the shrinkage of the brain on our examination.
And there's a lot of empty space.
Yeah.
You know, so you know there's empty space where there used to be viable brain tissue. So it's really a scary process, and we can help prevent it, but we don't have great cures once you get it. So we're going to be talking in future episodes of how do we prevent dementia, you know, multiple different types of dementia, and, you know, what can we do in our lifestyle? What changes can we make? And, you know, I'm going to ask you to make a lot of changes to prevent that. So there's a difference between cognitive aging, where you're just forgetting where you put your cup or your keys or your glasses, and actual dementia, which is a progressive disease.
Thank you, and I'm Zoe Donnell, and this is Free Enterprise. And today's guest is Steve Hemphill, and he's going to talk to us today about the Sunshine Store up here in Mountain Village. So, to start us off, Steve, I want to hear a little bit about your story. How did you come to Telluride, and when did you come to Telluride?
All right, that's a great question. Thanks, Zoe. Really appreciate you having us on.
Yes.
We have been here since 2015. We just celebrated our 4-year anniversary of being in town.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We came from Castle Rock, Colorado. My wife is a pharmacist, and previously we were running compounding pharmacies in Colorado and Wyoming.
Okay.
And but we always wanted to raise our family in a little ski town.
Perfect ski town.
Absolutely. So literally, I got on the phone and I started calling owners of pharmacies in ski towns.
Really?
I
Just
did.
cold calling?
Just cold calling.
Wow.
So I left a message with Sunshine Pharmacy in Telluride, and 25 minutes or so later, I got a call back from Mark Wattenpaw, and then Karen and I took the 7-hour drive from the Denver area out here that next weekend in August of 2015, and we formulated a deal to become the successor.
Okay, that's a good story.
Really, really thankful for that opportunity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you know what? True Telluride fashion, you have a passion, and you guys just went for it.
Make it happen.
You made it happen.
Absolutely.
And speaking of making it happen, we now have a Sunshine Store up here in Mountain Village, something that was well needed for locals and visitors alike. So
absolutely.
Tell us about what you guys offer at Sunshine Store, and then next question is going to be what we have to look forward to.
Absolutely. So we opened up this summer, as you know, Sunshine Store in the Franz Klammer building, the Mountain Village core. And we have just long wanted to better service our customers and patients in Mountain Village.
Yes.
And we knew that it wasn't economically feasible to put a pharmacy over here just yet. We thought that perhaps contacting the ski resort and exploring some opportunities for putting a little kiosk or a small store up here would be a good idea. So I'm super thankful to Sherry Reeder and Bill Jensen for making the opportunity happen for us. So what we have is Sunshine Store, which is basically a convenience store that also allows for prescription pickup delivered from Sunshine Pharmacy on a daily basis.
Which is amazing. And I have to say, when I first saw Steve setting up, you were there from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, just like seeing what people needed.
Absolutely.
And writing down like, okay, we don't have this, but people want this. So you really have done your due diligence to find out what we need as a community, and you're providing it up here at your store.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
It's impressive.
Our whole mantra with our businesses are just to take care of people that come into our stores. So, I mean, it's really simple. It may sound cliche, but if you take care of people, they take care of you. And so that's our goal. We do that to this day. It's been a lot of fun opening up the new store and having the presence in Mountain Village.
Well, we're forever grateful up here for sure. So, what do we have in store for the future?
Well, we are working on some really exciting things. And if anyone has any ideas, please come see me or Karen in the store. But our goal is to make Sunshine Store be open 24/7.
Wow.
We are working this off-season on putting in the technology to where customers can download a smartphone application and then enter the store, grab items, and proceed to a self-checkout, and then check themselves out.
Wow.
So
that is amazing.
It's kind of a lofty goal. There's probably 4 or 5 different technology vendors that are needed to put that together, but we think that'll really be helpful to the community, as many of the guests that come here arrive late at night, and it'll also help us stay open much longer. Like during, for example, perhaps our business will be viable during an off season with a self-service model.
Yeah, definitely. Well, big plans for the future, and I love that you're a big ideas person. So again, very grateful. Well, thanks again for coming on Free Enterprise, and of course we got to think of the name Free Enterprise. So you came on for free and you get a prize.
Oh, just what a bald guy needs. Thank you so much.
A Telluride TV hat.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. So sport it proud, and thanks again, Steve. And so if people want to find out more information about Sunshine Store or Sunshine Pharmacy on in Telluride, do you have a website or?
Yeah, so sunshinetelluride.com, and we actually have someone working on our marketing right now, the Facebook, the Instagram for Sunshine Store.
Okay.
Sunshine Pharmacy, of course, is already on those social media channels.
Okay.
All right.
So thanks again, and until next time.
Thank you.
The HIV epidemic has evolved immensely since the early days in the early 1980s. We see many fewer people dying of AIDS nowadays, but there's still lots of people living with HIV. More and more people are getting access to the antiretroviral medications, but not enough of them. So we still have a long way to go on all fronts.
The heart of the Telluride AIDS benefit is both activism and fundraising. Our goal is to raise awareness about the cause and funds for the people who need them most.
I look at myself as sort of the patriarch of the AIDS benefit. I moved here with Robert Presley in 1990, and Robert was a costumer. He actually made costumes for kids. We spent the good years here, and about 1994, Robert was getting ill. Even when I met Robert in 1988, I knew he had HIV/AIDS, and back then there wasn't a whole lot of hope for things, and you just had to do the best you could. And a bunch of his darling friends wanted to do something for Robert. And Robert being Robert, he didn't want the money to go to him. So we got involved with the only AIDS organization on the west slope of Colorado at that time, which was West Cap. And they did a little dance-a-thon down on Main Street. A bunch of the girls put these dresses on and they waltzed down Main Street, and that was the fashion show in 1994.
So since 1994, the Telluride AIDS benefit has raised over $2.5 million for AIDS service organizations in Colorado and Africa, raising money specifically for client care and their families and prevention and education.
Our philosophy at TAB is we have to educate. The Telluride AIDS Benefit Board is very proud of a curriculum that we have assisted with writing. It is available for teachers and students across Colorado and across the United States. We think it's really important to educate our 6th grade through 12th grade students so that they can make healthy decisions.
The community has really embraced it in every way. I mean, it's really a grassroots organization. It's just been an amazing ride.
It's Telluride's best moment for creativity and philanthropy and compassion. It's just an awesome event that people have really rallied behind for 25 years now, and it's a great honor to be a part of it.
Hi, my name's Gemma Andrew, and I'm a junior at Telluride High School, and this is The Report Card, a show about things that I think matter. Hello, my name is Gemma Andrew. I'm 16 years old and I attend Telluride High School. Vaping is becoming an epidemic targeting teenagers. E-cigarettes are small vaporizers. Once inhaled, they place nicotine and other harmful substances inside the lungs. Because these devices are relatively new, it is hard for scientists to prove how harmful they really are. Several nicotine users from the United States have died from these small devices. Vaping is causing people's lungs to collapse and other harmful effects. Telluride High School is a safe environment because most students are against illegal substance use. Alex Jones, the Telluride High School counselor, has been meeting with students with addictions, and he is there to help and support them. The company Juul has been sued twice. The government got a warrant, raided Juul headquarters, and took all advertising documents under the suspicion they were marketing to minors. Juul used to sell a variety of children-oriented flavors, such as mint, mango, and creme brulee. Most people are under the impression that Juul is less harmful than cigarettes, which is false information. A single pod, which is a small plastic replaceable container for vape juice, has as much nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. I hope the information I've shared helps raise awareness about the vaping epidemic affecting teens. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, I thought that was a pretty cool piece Gemma did there on vaping. Certainly very timely, very newsworthy.
And very important, especially for the youth out there.
Absolutely. Hey Colin, sadly, Almost Live is
almost over. But if you missed any part of the show, never fear. You can catch us on Channel 1304 in Telluride or Channel 12 in Mountain Village.
And you can also watch all our daily programming live online at TellurideTV.org, and we also have hundreds of files of archived community content to watch. And you can check us out on social media at Telluride TV or hashtag Telluride TV.
Check out that online channel to see tons of local theater, interviews from Mountain Film, Telluride Film Festival, fashion shows, music, and more.
But for now, stay tuned. We're going to watch Scott Upsher's film Locals Bite, and we'll be back, not next week, but next season. We'll start the winter season early December, so see you then.
See you when it snows.
Take care.
Walk with you to the gondola? Oh, you're asleep, but I'll be fine. Are you sure? Yeah, it's Telluride. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Night.
have to let me in. Let me in!
It's too full. Take another one.
Again, Kristen, do you know how many times I've had to clean your cabin out just this month?
Sorry, Carl. You never have any manners.
He is gonna have the basement.
down the devil.